with Brian Fisher on AFR Talk.
Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk, free for all Friday. Talk about anything that's on your mind that's been in the news over this past week. A couple of quick things you might not have known about in the shutdown budget that was agreed to, that John Boehner and a whole bunch of Democrats voted for, and that most of the Republican senators voted for. There was a $174,000 payout in that to the widow of Senator Frank Lautenberg. Now, he is a multi-millionaire. Now, she's lost her husband. I understand that. This isn't about a lack of sympathy for her. It's just, what business is it of government to provide a $174,000 payout to the widow of a multi-millionaire? But that was the part of the budget deal. So Mitch McConnell got his $3 billion dam, and John Boehner got to keep the gavel, and other people got payouts as well. By the way, a survey was done by Yale professor Dan Kahan, and he discovered to his shock that Tea Partiers know more about science than liberals do. This completely blew him out of the tub. I mean, it shattered all of his preconceptions, because he admitted he doesn't know a single Tea Partier. I mean, that shows you how insulated these people are. They talk about us being extremists. They're so much on the fringe, they don't even know. He doesn't know one single solitary, ordinary American. You talk about living inside a bubble, inside a cocoon, about insulated, about being sheltered from the real world. This guy's at Yale, doesn't know a single member of the Tea Party, doesn't know anybody that even identifies with the Tea Party. Gets all his news from the New York Times and from cable outlets other than Fox, Huffington Post, Politico. That's where he gets his news. So this blew him away. He expected, when he put the results into his computer, that he was going to find out that, just like he thought, the Tea Partiers were a bunch of redneck Neanderthals that haven't got past the second grade, missing their teeth, can't spell cat if you spotted them the C and the A. And he found out, to his shock, that Tea Partiers are more scientifically literate than liberals. This absolutely blew him away. He says the findings not only surprised him, they embarrassed him. I've got to confess, he said, though, I found this result surprising. As I pushed the button to run the analysis on my computer, I fully expected I'd be shown a modest negative correlation between identifying with the Tea Party and science comprehension. But then again, I don't know a single person who identifies with the Tea Party. All of my impressions come from watching cable TV, reading the New York Times, the Huffington Post, and Politico. He says, I'm embarrassed, but mainly I'm just glad that I no longer hold this particular mistaken view. So that's just kind of a fascinating moment of realization that we aren't the Hicks and the Rubes and the Cro-Magnon Neanderthals that he thought we were. Well, let's go back to our caller from Camden, Arkansas, Larry. Larry, you were talking about the fact that because of your skin color, people around you kind of assume you're going to have a particular outlook, and you don't.
Exactly. And it's so bad. People really don't know how deep this democratic mindset on African Americans really is. And that is the main reason why you had 99% of black people voting for Obama, strictly because of his color, not because of his policy. Because I was just appalled at pastor, how anybody can support a man with his views as a Bible-preaching pastor who teaches your people to love and not commit abortion, not do all that stuff. But yet this man is totally against anything we teach. But yet when I bring this issue up, it's always a problem. Now we got to support Obama because he's Obama. And that's the reason you have so much discourse. And my number one reason why I feel like the Republican Party, the white party, does not go against Obama because of this issue. It will look like it's white against black. It will cause a big issue. Maybe even could lead to a riot war or even a civil war between black and white. And this man is allowed to have a blank ticket to do whatever he want to do, even though he's destroying this country, destroying African-American people, destroying everything, yet he's given a blank ticket. And I think this is so wrong. And I really want to see more African-Americans rise up as black and stand and speak the voice and educate our people on what is really going on here. We are on a great deception by this man. He's really deceiving us as a African-American people because we just looking at this man's skin color. We so elated that this man has been elected president. But it's just so wrong.
Well, Larry, and I look at what's happening in the black community with abortion, for instance, and Barack Obama is the biggest supporter of abortion you're going to find in the Democratic Party, shows up at Planned Parenthood fundraisers. He's got abortion funding in Obamacare. He's going to punish any Christian organizations that don't want to pay for abortifacients. He's insisting they violate their conscience in the First Amendment to pay for abortifacients for their employees. And yet you look, Larry, at the community that's most grossly affected by abortion. It's the black community. The black community represents about 12 to 13% of the American population, and yet 36 to 40% of all of the abortions that are done in America are done on black babies. I mean, it's really a form of genocide, which is in line with what Margaret Sanger believed, that black people were noxious weeds and they had to eliminate as many black babies as they possibly could. And yet Barack Obama is facilitating a practice which is targeted toward the black community to reduce the number of black babies that are born in America. So he's really connected to an enterprise which is resulting in the genocide of black Americans. And so from a logical standpoint, it's hard to understand why the black community is marching in such lockstep with somebody whose political agenda is actually destroying their own community. Do you have help me understand that?
The only thing I can see is that we have been so brainwashed and so uninformed as to what's really going on, who are really the people that's really going to help us. We're so bought into this mentality that somebody's supposed to give us something, somebody owe us something, that we're willing to believe anybody who say they're going to. And this man have used that particular statement, I'm going to help you, I'm going to be there for you, I'm going to change things to your behalf. And literally it was just a scheme he played to get elected so he can really run his own agenda. This man's not pulling his own strings. He's being pulled by somebody else. I think he's just a figurehead.
Larry, let me ask you one question before I let you go. I got some other callers I want to get to, but I appreciate you taking time to extend our conversation. Somewhere around 95%, I don't know what the exact figure is, about 95% of the black community voted for Obama in 2012. And again, that means about 4, 5, 6% of black Americans didn't because of because of their political differences with him and their moral differences with him. Now that Obama cannot run for re-election, it'd be a very remote possibility we'd have another black candidate for president in 2016. There's just nobody out there on the horizon that would fit the bill. Do you think that maybe some of that lockdown that liberals have on the black vote, any chance that's going to be broken up now that President Obama is not going to be in the Oval Office, can't run for office again? Any chance that monopoly is going to bust up?
Oh, I'll tell you, absolutely, emphatically, it is not going to happen. You're not going to get the black turnout that you got when Obama ran for presidency. And because of that, they're not going to be able to be as forceful to do what they want to do. But, yeah, it's actually going to make a different effect on how many blacks actually turn out and vote in the next election, because they're other people that's going to be running is not going to appeal to them like Obama did. So, yeah, I definitely believe it's going to be a difference.
One last question, Larry. Why are you a conservative? Where do your values come from? You're black, but you are a conservative, didn't vote for Obama. How did that happen?
Well, I had to do a total change because I grew up strictly Democratic. I've always voted Democratic. Everybody in my family has voted Democratic. But I started educating myself by listening to your show and Limbaugh and other talk shows. They really realized that, man, I really been just hooked when and thinking that it was a Democrat that is really for me when it really is not. And because of it, I've changed and I've tried to change and tell many others, but they just don't want to hear me. But that's what changed me. I've always been a Christian. I grew up in a Christian home. Both my mother and father were both ministers, and I always pastored churches. But, politics were never discussed. We just never discussed politics, period, in most African-American churches. And so we have not really been educated to truth. But I had the chance to find out for myself by educating myself by listening to people like you. That's why I appreciate your show.
All right, Larry, listen, thank you very much for the call. That's Larry from Camden, Arkansas. And ladies and gentlemen, right there, you can see why President Obama does not want you to listen to Focal Point. Because we are liberating people from the Democratic plantation. We've got an underground railroad that is releasing people from the political captivity of liberalism, and he doesn't like it. Let's grab another phone call. Let's go to Russell, Tom Green, Texas. Russell, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi, Mr. Fisher.
Hey.
I love your colorful, whatever you call them. That's some. Anyway, what I was going to ask you is the Affordable Care Act was passed through the Supreme Court by by changing it several times. So it finally said that these penalties would be taxes.
Yes.
And they've never been called taxes that I'm aware of.
No, in fact, President Obama said, look, this isn't a tax. I mean, he vigorously contested the idea that this was a tax.
Right, but it wouldn't pass unless it was a tax.
Right.
According to Chief Justice, whatever his name is.
Yeah, John Roberts, that's correct.
Yeah, so now that we know that it's a fine or it's a penalty, how it's become unconstitutional again, I would guess. I mean, it was unconstitutional the first time. So do we facilitate the law to make it constitutional and then make it illegal again and it stays? Or do we change the Constitution now or allow the Constitution to be changed by this law? And now the government has the constitutional authority to penalize people and to fine them.
Yeah. Well, and the reality is, Russell, I appreciate the call and thank you for that. You know, the reality is this thing was unconstitutional to begin with. I mean, the very idea is unconstitutional because Congress has no authority to manage the nation's healthcare system. None. It's not in the Constitution. You go to Article 1, Section 8, there's about 19 things that we, the people, said the central government can do. Running healthcare is not in there. It's not in there anywhere. They can be in charge of the currency. They can punish piracy. They can punish counterfeiters. They can make rules for the military. They can raise taxes for the military. They can do all that stuff. They can build post offices and post roads, but the government is nowhere ever authorized to run the nation's healthcare system. So if you look at the Constitution as it was given to us by the founders, this thing was blatantly unconstitutional in the concept. But then Russell's point is that when John Roberts rewrote this law, and he said, look, this thing is unconstitutional if that thing's a penalty, I'm going to magically redefine it as a tax. And because Congress has the power to tax people, that makes it constitutional. Well, when he did that, when John Roberts did that, if it wasn't unconstitutional before, it became unconstitutional the very minute that John Roberts said it was a tax. Because a bill for raising revenue has got to start in the House. It cannot start in the Senate. And that's where Obamacare started. It started in the Senate. When John Roberts says this is a tax, he himself should have ruled the thing unconstitutional at that moment, back in 2002.
7 years.
Is there